In the NBA here, 76ers star Joel Embiid will undergo a procedure to address a left meniscus injury in the coming days. That's what the team announced on Sunday night. The reigning MVP is expected to miss an extended period of time, but a more precise timeline isn't expected until the doctors complete the procedure. As we say hello to our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, what are you hearing about how long Embiid could be out and how that could impact the Sixers' actions as we approach the trade deadline?
Malika, right now, the Sixers are not closing the door, I'm told, on a Joel Embiid return this season. But again, at his size and his history with knee procedures, putting timelines on these, I think before the actual surgery is difficult to do. So they'll have a better idea. That procedure is coming this week, and there'll be a better sense. But Philadelphia, again, they're not closing the door on the possibility that they can still get Joel Embiid back. This team has slipped to 5th place in his absence in the last week plus, and certainly they have a lot of work to do to keep themselves in relative contention in the East, hoping that they can get Embiid back. But certainly devastating for the Sixers, for Joel Embiid. He was on his way perhaps to back-to-back MVPs, first player since Wilt Chamberlain to average 35, 15, and 5 in the league.
All right, this is a huge blow to the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll wait to see a more precise timeline after that procedure is complete. Woj, thank you so very much. Brian, as you hear all of that information, as we know the impact that Joel Embiid has been having this year, what do you make of all of this? Well,
so Philadelphia is in an interesting position. They have the option to just hold their team generally together, and they would have $55 million in salary cap room this summer. And if Embiid is indeed out for the year, they could use that opportunity this summer to build the team up around him and then re-sign Tyrese Maxey. That's $55 million. And then in addition, keep Maxey. That's a really advantageous position, but we didn't think they were going to go that route because they were in 2nd place in the East and really looking like they could challenge Boston, and they would maybe trade some of the over $100 million they have in expiring contracts to try to supplement this team now. So I would argue that how Embiid comes out of this surgery and the prognosis ahead of that trade deadline is one of the most important things that's going to happen in the league this week.
I would agree with you on that. What do you think? What direction should Philly be looking to go here, Austin?
I think they continue to stay the course. To Brian's point, they have salary cap this summer. You sign back Maxey. Even though they've had a great year, I think a lot of that's just due to the brilliance of Joel. I've seen this story already play out before. I saw it last year happen when they had a great year and then they go to the playoffs, and I don't seriously see them beating a Boston. I know Milwaukee's struggling right now.
Even with Joel, you meant?
Even with Joel.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see them beating Boston, and I actually don't even see them beating Milwaukee, despite their troubles right now. I really don't.
There's no familial tie there that would have you.
No, not at all. Not at all. I really don't believe that. I like Philly. I like their team. But they have the MVP. You don't need to flip the page. You have Maxey coming back. They have assets that they can move. They have salary cap. This is a team I think next year will be even more in contention to contend. I don't like putting a timeline on Joel's return. He's a heavy guy. When it comes to knees and feet, you don't ever want to rush those things back, especially when he has an injury-riddled past when it comes to those parts of his body. So I think they got to stay the course.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. When we talked about the Sixers earlier on this season, I said stick the landing. They absolutely need to do that. Now, we had hoped, especially given the nature of what we've seen in the Eastern Conference, it's wide open. We had hoped that if Joel Embiid remained healthy, that this would be the time that they could actually make it to the NBA Finals. But to me, looking at the situation and hearing the word extended, to me, I think that they have to extend this timeline for Joel. Yeah, go ahead.
I will say, even though this is a rough news for Philly, if they do move into the offseason with Maxey and Embiid and $50 million in cap space, they would be an extremely attractive place for a player to go.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe not even a free agent. Maybe somebody just says, trade me to Philadelphia.
Yeah. Right. To me, though, what's disheartening is when you look at the level that Joel Embiid is playing at, it just feels like when this happens, I completely agree with you, it is an attractive destination. But when this happens time and time again, we've talked about it, Joel Embiid's prime isn't necessarily the same length as some other superstars that we've seen, just by the nature of his injury history and, frankly, his size. And so that's what's a little bit disappointing. It's that you hope that this kind of thing that just comes up out of nowhere doesn't happen again.
Right now, it doesn't matter. And I hope everybody in this locker room feels the same way that I feel. It does not matter. There's so many things that we are doing right now that we are getting better. And the moment everything clicks and our legs are there and our minds are there and guys are healthy and we are, everybody locked in, I think it's going to go very well.
I don't disagree with that. No one's won a championship in February, but the Bucks really struggled down the stretch. They had one of their worst quarters in franchise history. They were outscored by 27 in the fourth quarter, their worst in a final quarter in franchise history. It was the most they were outscored in any quarter since 2018, and their 13 points were the fewest in any quarter this season. So there is a whole lot there. What is your biggest concern, Austin?
Their identity. I want to know their identity. They've had two major shifts in their locker room over the past year. They got rid of Drew Holiday, who was a vocal, huge piece to this team. I mean, this guy was ahead of their defense, the head of the snake, if you want to say. We talk about all these clips that we just saw. A lot of that starts with keeping the ball in front. They have no perimeter defense. That's been an issue for them all year long, and a coaching change is not going to fix that. It's going to help, but which leads me to my other point. That's another big change. They just got rid of Adrian Griffin a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So they don't have an identity yet. Their offense hasn't even been fully installed, and their defense isn't where it needs to be. And they need perimeter defense. That's just what it is.
Yeah, respect for speaking the truth right there. I see you, Rivers. But what I think here, you hit it because they can't keep the ball in front. They lose the point of attack. We see that in scouting reports. The point of attack, you have to be aggressive in the pick and roll situations. But instead, when you lose the point of attack defensively, it opens up everything. And then the offense just becomes as big as an ocean for their opponents. And so if they're more intentional at pick and roll positions, not drop coverage up there, then at least they can force a second or third rotation. But you're right. It is an identity crisis. I've said this, and it might be too nuanced.
Yeah.
Having Drew Holiday on your team means that you're up 10 and you're winning in a convincing fashion. Having Dame means that you could win those last-second moments. But the reason why the Bucks won a championship is because more often than not, they weren't finding themselves in a 6-point game, 4-point game. He was the one that really let the other guys shine.
Right.
And it meant that they were winning just easily. And that's more important in an 82-game season.
So given all of that, how do they fix it, and how patient will Giannis be?
All right, let's do good news, bad news. The good news is that they are a little bit, I know it's hard to believe because they've keep losing. They are a little bit better defensively since the coaching change. There's been a little bit of progress made, which I think is what Giannis is clinging to. Secondly, they have Giannis Antetokounmpo. They have Dame Lillard. Do you have Giannis? Anything really is possible. That's the good news. The bad news is that they have the second hardest schedule the rest of the season. So they have, and even in this next week, they come home from this road trip and they got like a brutal homestand. They have very little margin for error, and they're I know they're technically still in second, but they're really not because the Cavs have fewer losses and the Knicks have the same. So I would not be surprised if they make a move for a guard by Thursday. Now, they have very little to trade, and if they do a significant trade, they're going to take away a piece, probably somebody who's won a ring there.
Right.
They're looking for guards who can defend a little bit because, as Austin said, their perimeter defense just doesn't stand a chance on a night in and night out basis. And they're playing guys 30-plus minutes a game who just can't keep a guy in front of them. And so they need to, even if they just help a little bit with a move, I think they might be able to give themselves a chance.
They need time. We overreacted when the Clippers made their trades. We dissected every single loss that the Clippers had. They're 25-5 since one of the best teams in basketball. They need time. He got there a week ago. I know from playing for him and playing for a variety of coaches, if we're talking defense.
I was like, I'm only laughing because you said playing for him, not.
No, because I did. I mean, that's the only time. We're talking about defensive coaches. He's one of the top tier in the NBA.
Yeah.
So that has to translate. The problem is, to all of you guys' points, is personnel is what makes it. At the end of the day, you can have whoever on that sideline. You have to have the personnel on the court.
Right.
Right now, if we're talking perimeter defense, they don't have that. And to Brian's point, they got to make a move or sign somebody that at least alleviate that pressure where Dame doesn't go into a game thinking, I got to score and defend and do these things that he's never done his entire career. He's mostly an offensive player.
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
We're 4 days away, 3.5 really, from the NBA trade deadline. And they, as Brian pointed out, are limited in the moves that they can actually make. But it's clear that they need to do something. The Bulls announced that Zach LaVine will have foot surgery. He's out for the season now. He's expected to miss a total of 4 to 6 months. He finished the season averaging just over 19 points, his fewest in a season since 2017-2018. So now the questions start. Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, what is going on in the Windy City?
Nope, they're not doing it. All indications point they're holding firm.
Really?
There are no indications of Caruso being available. There are no indications that they're going to do something with DeMar DeRozan. They are in 9th place. They are 13-12 without Zach LaVine, 10-15 with him. I think they're riding it out, and they're going to try to make the play. And now, the one player I could see them moving would be Andre Drummond, who is that's a team I think if Philly is looking for a stopgap for Embiid, he was there a couple years ago. There's a bunch of teams actually interested in Andre Drummond. So if they make a move, I think they could maybe make a move with Drummond. But I don't. All indications, as we sit here on Monday, are that the Bulls are holding this team together and they want to just try to make the play.